Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers Blue for your CAT VRC preparation. In this session, we'll be taking up an RC that was asked in your CAT exam in the year 2018. I've titled the RC as Government and War Memorials, 511 words, 5 questions. Again, quite standard as per CAT. This is the first part of the session where I'll be taking you through the passage. I'll be explaining the passage to you in detail, paragraph by paragraph, with the help of a schematic diagram. In the second part, we'll be discussing the questions. The link to attempt the passage and the link to the second part of the video, as well as the link to join the Telegram channel for Sluggers Blue for CAT VRC. All the three links are available in the description of the video. Okay, so let's start. Okay, now for those of you who might be watching these sessions for the first time, I'll just take you very briefly through the structure of the sessions. See, every single session caters to one RC, okay, and a session is made up of two parts. The first part is where I explain to you the passage in detail, paragraph by paragraph, and the second part is where I take you through the questions, where we discuss the questions. Okay, you are expected to have attempted the passage and read the passage and attempted the questions by yourselves. The link to do the same is available in the description of videos of both the parts. Okay. All right. Now, 40 such sessions make up a course that is titled as an anthology of RCs for your reading comprehension preparation for the CAT. All right. So I hope that's clear. Let's start. Okay, guys. So see, the way we'll go about understanding the passages. You have your screen visible, right, on your device. Now it is split into two parts. On the left side of the screen, you can see the passage. On the right side is a blank space, which will be filled by schematic diagrams as we read the passage. I'll be using these schematic diagrams to explain to you in detail every part of the passage. As simple as that. Okay. So yeah, let's start. Okay, coming to first para. The Indian government has announced an international competition to design a national war memorial in New Delhi to honor all of the Indian soldiers who served in the various wars and counter-insurgency campaigns from 1947 onwards. So here the author simply notes that the Indian government has announced a competition to decide on the design of the new war memorial, which will be built to commemorate or pay respect to all the Indian soldiers who have served in the various wars and counter-insurgency campaigns 1947 onwards. That means post 1947, after the independence of the country. Okay. Next, he says the terms of the competition also specified that the new structure would be built adjacent to the India Gate, sorry, a memorial to the Indian soldiers who died in the First World War. Okay, and he notes that the announcement, that the terms of the competition, they also specify that this new memorial will be built adjacent to the India Gate, which is basically a memorial to those Indian soldiers who died in the First World War, right? So yeah, so this the India Gate is a memorial that is that was from this we get to know that the India Gate is a memorial that was created, that was built to pay respect to the soldiers, to the Indian soldiers who lost their lives in the First World War. Okay, and the new memorial will be built is being planned to be built to pay respect to the soldiers who served 1947 onwards. Okay, and next, let's see what the author says next. Between the old imperialist memorial, that expression is a reference to the India Gate. Imperialist because it was built during the time of the Britishers, who were the imperialists, right, who had colonized us. And the proposed nationalist one, nationalist memorial, because like the memorial is being built for after we got a freedom, right, for the nation, for India as a free country, right, as a free nation. So nationalist memorial is a reference to this. Okay, India's contribution to this. So between the old imperialist memorial and the proposed nationalist one, India's contribution to the Second World War is airbrushed out of existence, right? So he's pointing out a kind of a concern or a problem here. He says that okay, you commemorated the soldiers, the Indian soldiers who lost their lives or who served the country or during the First World War, and you also plan to commemorate the soldiers who served the country after 1947, after freedom. But what about the people? What about the efforts that were put in by the Indians during the Second World War? like they have not been paid the respect that is due for them, right? They have not been commemorated anywhere, right? So that's the point he has pointed out. That's what he has pointed out in the first paragraph. Okay, so in the first paragraph, the author basically points out a problem with respect to government announcement. Okay, with respect to a particular government announcement, on the basis of that, the author has pointed out a concern here. Okay, coming to the next paragraph. The Indian government's conception of the war memorial was not merely absent-minded. Rather, it accurately reflected the fact that both academic history and popular memory have yet to come to terms with India's Second World War, which continues to be seen as little more than mood music in the drama of India's advance towards independence and partition in 1947. So, what the author means to say here is that, well, the Indian government's conception of the new memorial, where it is to represent only the soldiers who served in 1947 onwards and not the Indian efforts that were put into the Second World War, this conception is not just a result of them being absent-minded. It's not like that they actually wanted to include them, but they forgot about it, right? It's not just a silly error. Rather, this conception of Indian government of the war memorial, it accurately represents a more fundamental problem, a deeper problem. And the problem is that the academic history or the popular memory of our country has still not come to terms with how important India's Second World War was. They still consider it to be something, they still don't ascribe enough importance to it. They think of it as something that was just a secondary factor, right? So he uses a metaphor here. He says that which continues to be seen as little more than mood music in the drama of India's advance towards independence and partition, right? So they still continue to consider India's Second World War as something that just happened on the sides. Okay, it's not really of prime importance. What was of prime importance was just the fact that we got independence and there was the partition happened, and in the World War, India's involvement in Second World War or the Indians who were involved in Second World War was something that just happened. Was a secondary event, right? So that's what the problem that the author is talking about. That's the author, problem he's trying to point out here. That the academic history, neither the academic history nor the popular memory have come to terms with how important this was, and they continue to consider it as something secondary. Okay, next, and more essentially, the political trajectory of the post-war subcontinent has militated against popular remembrance of the war. With partition and the onset of the India-Pakistan rivalry, both of the new nations needed fresh stories for self-legitimization rather than focusing on shared wartime experiences. Okay, so by the second part of the paragraph, the author tries to say that one factor is this. Okay, he first described the first factor, that has caused this problem of how India's efforts in Second World War are conceived, and then he lists out the second problem, the second cause for this problem. First cause is listed here, then he lists out the second cause. And the second cause is that after the partition, after he says the political trajectory of the post-war subcontinent, what happened with the subcontinent after the war, wherein it got partitioned into two countries, India and Pakistan. What happened was that both these nations, rivals as they were, they needed fresh stories to legitimize their own sovereignty as a new nation. Okay, and hence they kept focusing more on the fresh stories to legitimize their own new countries, their own new nations, as opposed to focusing on a past which was shared by both of them. Right. So if India wants to legitimize its sovereignty as a new nation, it would rather want to focus on fresh stories rather than on the shared past that it has with Pakistan before partition, right? And same for Pakistan, same applies for. So the author says that the focus was more on creating fresh stories, and they did not want to focus on the shared past because they wanted to they wanted something to legitimize their own respective nations as a sovereign. Okay, so that's what he means. So what the author has done in this paragraph is he has listed the two causes behind the problem that he talked about in the first para. Okay, so in the next set of paragraphs, the author says, however, the Second World War played a crucial role in both the independence and partition of India. The Indian Army recruited, trained, and deployed some 2.5 million men, and 90,000 of which, almost 90,000 of which were killed, and many more injured. Even at the time, it was recognized as the largest volunteer force in the war. India's material and financial contribution to the war was equally significant. India emerged as a major military, industrial, and logistical base for allied operations in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. This led the United States to take considerable interest in the country's future and ensured that this was no longer the preserve of the British government. Okay, so guys, in these two paragraphs, the author has tried to address the problem that he has already cited in the earlier paragraphs. In the earlier paragraphs, the problem that he has cited is that at a very fundamental level, like in our academic history and popular memory, we have not attributed substantial importance to India's involvement in the India's efforts, the effort that Indians had put in the Second World War. Okay, and now he's trying to address that. Like he's trying to prove how, why is that important, and how did, and in fact, how did the Second World War also play a very crucial role in India's independence and partition. Okay, and he starts by talking about the contribution of the army. He says that Indian army they had recruited almost 2.5 million men, and of which 90 there were 90,000 casualties, and which was at that time regarded as the largest volunteer force. Right, so that's the kind of contribution, that's the magnitude of contribution that they had put in during the Second World War. And apart from that, there was also material and financial contribution. There were also material and financial contributions. He says that during the Second World War, India emerged as a major military, industrial, and logistical base for all the Allied forces. Right. So the Second World War was a war between the Allied and the Axis forces. So India served as a emerged as a major military, industrial, and logistical base for the Allied forces. For their operations, especially in the southeast, in the regions of Southeast Asia and Middle East, right? And as a result of this emergence as a military, industrial, and logistical base, the US took notice, the United States took notice and took considerable interest in the country's future, in India's future, and ensured that the country would no longer remain just the preserve of the British government, right? So he has listed two contributions and basically what happened during the. He's trying to explain why he believes that we need to attribute more importance, more significance to India's involvement in the Second World War, right? So he notes the contributions to this to and costs of the Second World War. So let's go to the next paragraph. So coming to the next set of paragraphs. Other wartime developments pointed in the direction of India's independence. In a stunning reversal of its long-standing financial relationship with Britain, India finished the war as one of the largest creditors to the imperial power. Okay, so what he means to say is that there were other wartime developments which pushed India in the direction of independence, and then one of the most stunning developments was that the relationship between India and Britain, which used to be before the war, used to be where Britain, the Britishers would be creditors and we would be debtors, got reversed. Got reversed as a result of all the resources that India had to lend to Britain, and then post the war, the relationship became such that the Indians, that we were the creditors, and the Britishers, they were the debtors. They were debtors to us, right? And we were the creditors. So that's about the first part. Next, he says such extraordinary mobilization for the war, right? In terms of the forces, in terms of the material and financial contributions, such extraordinary mobilization for the war was achieved at great human cost, with the Bengal famine the most extreme manifestation of widespread wartime deprivation. The costs on India's home front must be counted in millions of lives. Okay, and next he notes that all of this such extraordinary mobilization of resources definitely came at a cost, and the cost was that there was during the Bengal famine, we lost almost 2 million lives, right? So that is a cost to consider at on the behest of which all this the extraordinary mobilization for the war had been undertaken, right? So that's about these two paragraphs. Let's go to the next one. Last two paragraphs. Indians signed up to serve on the war and home fronts for a variety of reasons. Many were convinced that their contribution would open the doors to India's freedom. The political and social churn triggered by the war was evident in the massive waves of popular protest and unrest that washed over rural and urban India in the aftermath of the conflict. This turmoil was crucial in persuading the Attlee government to rid itself of the incubus of ruling India. 70 years on, it is time that India engaged with the complex legacies of the Second World War. Bringing the war into the ambit of the new national memorial would be a fitting, if not overdue, recognition that this was India's war. Okay, so guys, in the last two paragraphs, what the author first says is he notes that the reason why many Indians signed up to get involved during the Second World War was because they believed that it could contribute to India's freedom. One, and the same was also demonstrated quite accurately in the aftermath of the war, when there was a lot of the political and social churn triggered by the war was evident, right? That unrest was evident in the popular protests that erupted over rural and urban India all over the country, right? And as a result of the same, this turmoil was quite crucial in persuading the Attlee government, the British government at that point of time, in to rid itself of the incubus of ruling India and thus granting India freedom. Right. So the author has demonstrated here how the involvement of India in the Second World War did play an instrumental role when it comes to the to determining a determining role in the in getting India the freedom that it wanted to get, the independence that it wanted from the Britishers, right? So, and then he finally notes, he puts his final proposition that, as based on all these arguments that he has made, 70 years on, it is time that India engaged with the complex legacies of the Second World War and bringing the war or the effort that the Indians had put into the Second World War into the ambit of the new national memorial would be a fitting, if not overdue, recognition that this was India's war as well. Okay, so he closes with a proposition which can solve the problem that he had stated at the very start of the passage. Okay. Okay, so guys, the central idea of the passage can be summarized in the following lines. The academic history and popular memory of the country needs to come to terms with the complex legacies of the Second World War, and bringing it into the ambit of the new national memorial would be a fitting way to do so, right? So yeah, so that's the central idea. Okay, guys. So with this, we have come to the end of the session. Now, for those of you who may have not attempted the questions, you can do so by clicking, by following the link which is given in the description of the video. And the others who have not seen the other RC videos, who would like to attempt the other RCs from this course and the Anthology of RCs, you can go to the playlist of this course on my YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel by clicking here. It will lead you to the playlist. And yeah, so that's about the session. And if you like the video, let me know in the comments, and do subscribe to the channel. Douglas Blue for your CAT VRC preparation. Signing off.